Good morning and welcome to my studio. Let me check my microphone. Okay, microphone is working. Last couple times I started my stream I forgot to unmute my mic. So, hello and welcome to my studio on this Friday morning for some dungeon map drawing and how to host a dungeon. I thought I'd start by just showing some stuff I've been working on. I haven't streamed in almost a couple months now, I guess. The reason being, so I have a full-time day job, and this time of year is very busy there. So I have been in my studio, and I have been working on how to host a dungeon, but I just haven't had the energy to stream and really organize things and get the technology set up once a week to stream. So, but here I am, back, and have some new stuff to try out. But first, wouldn't mind showing off what I've been working on lately. Give me 1 second here. Just realized I'm streaming over Wi-Fi, which is probably not a good idea. So, if you've never been in the stream before, and welcome, I see a couple people here. My name is Tony Dowler. I'm an artist specializing in dungeon maps and fantasy environments. This is actually one of my pictures here that I've been working on for the last couple weeks. Let me see if I can zoom it in a little bit here. So I've been playing with some new colors and some new techniques. Let's see if we can get it a little bit. It's hard to get a really good color balance with this camera. It's a pretty decent camera, but I think I'm gonna upgrade soon. But here's what I've been working on for the last little while. And I used some acrylic inks and some watercolor and various stuff on this. I'll be posting a picture of this online on my Patreon and on Twitter soon. So if you're curious and want to see it, it'll be there. My Twitter and my Instagram is @TonyDowler if you're looking for me. And you can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/TonyDowler, where I'm doing dungeon maps such as this and designing my game, How to Host a Dungeon. So this map is actually, this painting is inspired by a map that was created using How to Host a Dungeon. And here's the map itself. So How to Host a Dungeon is a dungeon drawing game that creates maps such as this. And I just wanted to show that off because I think it's kind of cool the way you go from this set of scribbles and layers of paper to something a little more imaginative. And here's the dungeon map that we made the last time I streamed, which is actually a hellscape necropolis with a labyrinth. But today, we're going to start fresh. So in the game of How to Host a Dungeon, we generate a map and a history, following a set of instructions and rolling dice. This is the new version of How to Host a Dungeon, How to Host a Dungeon version 2. It's not publicly available yet. If you're on my Patreon, you've either got it, or if you don't have it, send me a message because you should have access to it. This is not available yet, but is really close to being publicly available. I've been working on howtohostadungeon.com because I want to launch a new website when I launch the new version of the game. But that's what we'll be playing today. So if you happen to have bought How to Host a Dungeon sometime in years past, or you can actually still get the original version on Etsy, this will seem a little different. And if you're thinking of buying it, and you're thinking, but there's a new one coming out, if you buy it now, I will send you the PDF of the new one as well. Anyway, enough of all that stuff. Let's make a world. So we're going to go with a pretty straightforward world today. We'll start with a line to indicate the surface of the world. This is the underground, where the dungeon will grow. This is the surface. Then we'll just draw a few lines to divide this underground region up into some various areas. And there are a number of ways to do this, but none of them is really right or wrong. Really what you're looking to do is just create some shapes that look interesting to you. Let's see, how many areas do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we could use a little more than that. Let's there we go. I'm going to number these for convenience. So now we roll some dice using these instructions to find out what's in this underground world. Let's grab a 6-sided die and a 10-sided die. So the 6-sided die will tell us what's there, and the 10-sided die will give us some more details. So let's start with area number 2, because the surface, we do that separately. So what we discover is that here we have magma in a large cavern with a number of magma lakes. So let's use brown for these caves. And let's draw a big cavern like that. And then we've got these lakes full of magma. Let's use this red marker for that. Now, of course, when I play How to Host a Dungeon, I love to use markers and colors, details. But, you know, that's just me. I'm a guy who likes mucking around in his studio more than just about anything else. You can do it however you want. Just use a pen, a pencil, maybe a few colors, maybe one color. It's all good. All right. And here, let's, I'm just going to label that too. The magma cave with 4 magma lakes. Let's move on to the next zone. Here we have gems. To be exact, a large cave with 1 to 4 deposits of gems lining the walls. Okay, well let's give this cave an unusual shape. So a couple of a tall cavern with some shelves. And we're going to have 4 gem deposits. Let's see, for our gem deposits today, let's find a green. So we've got these huge emerald deposits in the walls of this cavern. And why does this matter? Because at some point these caverns will be filled with monsters, people, weird wizards, alien invaders, and they're going to care very much about these gems and what they can do with them. And we just keep on going. This has an ore deposit. A vein of ore running through the level. Let's see, what color should we use for our ore deposit? Here. I've got a bronze Sharpie. I'll use that for the ore deposit. And it says a vein of ore, but it doesn't really say what shape that vein of ore has to have, so I'm I'm going to give it this shape. And we keep on going. So, if you're wondering when we get to the good part, after this we're going to try a new civilization that I've written up some rough rules for, the alien invaders. So hopefully it will be interesting. You never know when you're playtesting a game. Sometimes the results you get are not what you hope for, and sometimes they're better than you hope for. So down here we've got water. We have a huge cave with an underground sea in it. Oh, that should be interesting. This is a pretty small zone, so we're just going to make the cave fill up almost the whole thing. And then we'll fill the bottom of it with water. Let's see, what have I got? It's good for water. I'll use this, this marker. And how about this marker too? I see a few more people joining the stream. Thanks for coming by. Welcome to my studio today. Hope you're having a good Friday. If you're lucky enough to be one of those people who doesn't work on the weekend, happy Friday. There's our sea cave. Now let's go this big area in the middle here. Here we have life. On a 6, a huge cavern full of life. Well, that's interesting. What if we have a huge cave coming up from below, maybe from some underground world? Let's see. This is a mushroom cave. Draw some mushrooms here. Just wake up this paint pen a little bit. Clearly I'm not making enough use of my paint pens. Let's see if this one's a little more active. Yeah, that's better. Okay. I hope those look at least somewhat like mushrooms. Again, it doesn't matter if your mushrooms are perfect. Really, the only one you have to please is you. The mushroom cavern. All right, let's keep on rolling dice. Over here, we're going to have some more gems. In this case, There are no caves, just some gems scattered around. So let's go with orange for these gems. Woo! And we're gonna have 6 gems. And let's fill that in with a more reliable pen. How about this one? More gems. And over here, more magma. A magma river, in fact. So let's go back to my old red pen and we'll just draw a river of lava flowing right through the middle of our world. A little yellow there too, make it stand out. And finally, down here, we have water again. Small caves, connected by tunnels or underground streams. Okay, well, let's... There's nothing that says what my water has to look like, so I'm just going to make these ones ice caves, actually. So we'll just make some big ol' chunks of underground ice in these caves. Like so. And finally, let's see what the surface of our world looks like. A wasteland. A lifeless wasteland. Just going to draw some jagged rocks and craters here to emphasize that. The wasteland. All right, and now we have a world to start our game in. So the next thing that happens in the game of How to Host a Dungeon is the first civilizations arise. Could be wizards, dwarves, demons, deep elves from beneath the earth, but I have this new set of rules I've been working on, the alien invaders. This is pretty rough, so we'll just have to see how it goes. It's always interesting to try out something new. So we'll start with 6 tokens representing the alien landing force, and 2 glass beads representing their supplies. And the first thing we do is we choose a landing site for them. and we draw it. So let's see, what color do I want to use for this alien stuff? Let's see how this blue Sharpie's doing. Yeah, this one's pretty good. Okay, so I think the alien landing site we're going to actually, it's going to be kind of a crater. And let's build some underground habitations for these aliens. So these folks are alien to this world. Maybe they can't even breathe the atmosphere. Maybe they're colonists. Maybe they're exiles. The game doesn't really say. We'll give them some kind of communications array here. We'll put these beads in here to represent the colonists. And their supplies. So now, the aliens will suffer a series of emergencies and attempt to build constructions to help them deal with those emergencies. If they live long enough and successfully enough, they'll successfully colonize the planet. If they fail, they will be wiped out, leaving only their ruins behind. So let's find out what the first catastrophe will be. Sorry, the first emergency. The first emergency is an equipment breakdown, and they have to use up some of their supplies. And now they build. And their first construction is a supply cache. So we need to build a place for that. So I think they're going to continue to go underground and create this like elevator shaft down here. And we'll make a series of supply chambers down here. And label it supply cache. And that gives them 3 additional supplies. And then we'll roll for another emergency. Oh, also, they need to send a crewman down to man that supply cache for it to be functional. That will become important later. So, our next is a monster attack. So, I'm not quite sure how to draw that. I haven't put a lot of thought into. I just really jotted down a bunch of things. They should all be things that let us draw something on the map. I think I'm just gonna. This is a little not even. I'm just gonna draw like a weird mushroom zone creature here with lots of legs coming up from the depths and raiding their base. And that costs them 1 crew member. So now that they have built some things, they can take an action. With the supply cache, they can add 1 supply to their base. Then they build, let's see, the next thing they build is a food supply. I think how we're going to do that is we're going to build them a big dome on the surface. So An agriculture dome. And that contains alien life forms. Let's use purple for the alien. I guess these are like weird, rubbery, blocky trees or something. So that costs them a supply, and they have to send a crew member to man it. Then they can take an action, which is to grow some food. Okay, and then another emergency. So we get a 1. So a 1 is, so these are actually all, you can't really see my notes here, but these are all numbered. So the landing spot is number 1. The supply cache is number 2. The egg dome is number 3. Since we rolled a 1, and they already have construction number 1, a landing site, they're able to avoid the disaster, which is unbreathable atmosphere. So as long as they have a functioning base with people in it, a 1 is a safe roll. So now they get to build their next construction without losing anything. And maybe I need to make this a little more punishing because they seem to be doing pretty well so far, but let's see how this goes. So next we have an uplift device. A monolith, a laboratory, or a, I don't know what else. So, I think they're going to extend these elevators down here and erect an alien monolith. To try and gift intelligence to the underground creatures who are the only inhabitants of this world. So they send a crew member down, they expend some supplies, and then we're actually going to draw a monster card to see what kind of creatures they uplifted. So these are the monster cards for How to Host a Dungeon. These come in the Age of Monsters, which comes after this. But so whatever monster we draw here will not actually do anything in this age, but it will play a part in the next age. So let's give this a little shuffle. And the aliens have uplifted a mob. Not quite sure what that means, but a mob of uplifted adventurers apparently will be a player in the next age of this game. And then we roll the emergency. And we rolled a 1 again. So, lucky aliens, these are useful rolls. So they may now take an action. Each of these bases gives them a different action. I kind of want to maybe build out some more interesting actions, but with this they get to add a population because of the monolith. Maybe it's their mob of uplifted helpers. And next we build an energy source. So this is, for this they need to exploit something already on the map. And I think, so we'll put the energy nexus down here. I'm totally just making up what this looks like. And we're going to put some kind of tram over to this lava river, which they are now tapping for energy with some kind of alien lava turbine thing. So They need a crew member, and they have to spend a treasure to construct it. Then for our emergency, we get 2, which is another equipment breakdown. But now that they have a supply cache and a crew member manning it, the emergency is prevented. So using their turbine, they're able to produce some energy. It looks like this civilization is doing pretty good. And finally, they build their terraforming project. So this requires them to transform one area of the underground. So I'm actually going to have them build a bridge, an underground tramway. So the touchstones for the alien civilization are like colonizing Mars or alien invaders, but also stuff like Black Mesa from the Half-Life games, or the huge underground facilities in the Portal game. So let's see, how are they going to terraform this planet? I think they're going to terraform it by evaporating all the water in the sea cave and using it to create a breathable atmosphere. So I think how we're going to do that is we're going to create some kind of massive heat exchanger, connect to the magma river, and use it to evaporate the water and spew it into the atmosphere, causing this planet to be habitable. They need a crew member and a supply, which they have. Then we roll to see what emergency we get. We get a 6, which is an earthquake. So we're actually going to add some more tunnels that are created by this earthquake that go across the map like this. And that is all the alien constructions, and their civilization ends. They've successfully colonized the planet, made it breathable, uplifted the local inhabitants, were not destroyed, and then they flee the world and leave a few treasures behind. So that's a pretty simple and fast civilization. Hey, Joshua Ringley, hello. Yeah, it has been a while. I think it's been 2 months since I last streamed. How have you been doing? Have you been streaming? Keeping busy? Yeah, the last couple of months, my regular full-time job has been very busy, so I just did not have the energy to stream. Oh, Blender, cool. I don't really have much experience with Blender, but that sounds pretty awesome. Learning new tools and new software is always pretty exciting. All right, so that's the end of our Age of Civilization. Now we're going to do our Age of Monsters. And there's something I find kind of handy. This is totally optional in How to Host a Dungeon, but I like to put down a layer of tracing paper over this and draw on the new layer. It's just a little less confusing to have a fresh layer to draw on. And with tracing paper, you can still see what's going on underneath. You also get a fresh start. So, Joshua, I work at a tech company I lead a small creative team. So we do, how do I explain this? We do tech demos of different products. which is kind of interesting because in my work, often I have to work with developers to write code, designers to, make glossy web pages, etc. Writers, which is mostly what I am, technology people. So it's actually kind of cool. I get to work on a team with a whole range of different people. Yeah, I like it a lot, and if it sounds interesting, I encourage anybody to go check out 3sharp.com and look at the job openings, because we're often hiring. Number 3sharp, the word sharp.com. So Blender, is that a 3D design tool, if I'm remembering correctly? Let's add a little more tape here just to keep this nice and steady while we're doing our Monster Age. Yeah, 3D. Okay, that's what I thought. 3D is something I have not experimented with very much, unfortunately. We have a guy at our office who is working with the latest Microsoft HoloLens now, which is a VR tool where you basically wear a VR rig and you can create a virtual workspace, like a virtual office, or a design space, or one of the uses for it is like if you have people doing technical work on heavy machinery, they can put on the HoloLens and see the technical diagrams beside the actual physical device, or even have another person looking in, giving them, advice, and it's really, really super cool. That's some of the cool stuff we get to see sometimes. All right. Anyway, the Age of Monsters. So, in the Age of Monsters, different monsters will spawn into this world and fight for survival. I have these handy dandy monster cards. So these are, if you've watched the stream before, you've seen, I used to have these, right? These hand printed out things with all my monsters and their stats. I got these printed up by Drive-Thru Cards. They're super nice. They will soon be available. When the game becomes available, I'll also provide a link where people can get these. A few patrons got a pre-release version to look at. You're learning through CG Cookie. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, learning and teaching yourself new technical skills is awesome. Oh, I need an alien though. I think I put my mob back in the deck. That's what happens when you talk and play at the same time. So first, I need to go through this, and the first alien, the Morlons, will automatically be included in the Monster Age because I had the alien civilization. We get an alien group. Also, now I need to find my mob, which I think I put back in here. There it is. The adventuring mob. And we add that to that one random monster, which will be the hag. So we take our first of these, the mob. The mob will start in a random location, which is, there are only 9 locations, so let's roll that again. Number 4, which is the ore zone. So I'm going to redraw this tunnel. And I guess our mob of uplifted adventurers is entering the map from the west. Perhaps word of the vanishing of the alien civilization has gotten to them, and now they are returning to see what they can plunder from the ruins. Second, we get the hag. The hag will appear in zone number 6, which is the underground mushroom forest. So I think we're going to make the hag a hut under the ruins of the alien monolith. plans are mysterious. The hag starts with a treasure, and to account for her powerful magic, a bonus token, which will be useful to her if she gets into a fight. An alien race that is made out of toast. What an amazing idea. I propose a toast alien. And the Morlons will appear in zone number 1 on the surface. So, of course the aliens are gone, so their dome is no longer functional, but the alien plant life is still there. And I think the Morlons are going to be sheltering in the ruins of the alien dome. So let's plop them in there. And now each of these groups gets to do something. So each monster group has a life cycle, which describes what they do in the course of their turn. So the mob are wanderers. They always move to a new location. So let's, I'm going to just say that there are some like shelves here which they can travel on. So they're basically going to move into this massive cave, which actually puts them in contact with the hag, potentially. Then, if they have the opportunity, they fight. So they're going to attack the hag. Let's find another die here. We'll use the big die for attackers and the little die for defenders. So now the mob and the hag roll dice to see what happens. The hag wins, so one mobster is killed, and that is the end of the turn. Next, we'll have the hag take her turn. The hag always explores, always looking for interesting stuff. I think she's going to explore these old alien infrastructure in this direction. Then she curses her neighbors, which can only affect neighbors that have magic. So no one has magic currently, so no effect there. And then she has a number of choices of what to do next. I think she will hunt. And by hunting, she kills a member of the mob. Joshua, there is no properly with how to host a dungeon. That is what I have learned over the years. Every game is different, and I despair of ever having it turn out the same way twice. But play it, yes, properly. I have my doubts. I have my doubts that it's even possible. That's an exaggeration, but okay. The Morlons also are explorers. So the first thing they do is explore. So I'll just have them explore across the surface and discover these ruins in this old alien landing site. Then Morlons like magma. So I think maybe they've been sheltering in this dome for a long time, but now they've decided to migrate out and go in search of magma to power their magma engine, which could make them a powerful force. Then at the end of the turn, a new monster enters the world, and we get antlings. Antlings appearing in area number 6. So the zone already occupied, but I think we'll make some room for them down here. I think these antlings, they live in and on these giant mushroom stems. So I'm just going to draw some giant mushrooms for them to live on. So 3 antlings and a treasure. And now they take their turn. They always increase their population. And then, what will they do? They can harvest. they harvest those mushrooms to increase their treasure supply. And that is one turn of the Monster Age of How to Host a Dungeon. Yeah, it is a fun way to do world building. Never get tired of world building. That's my advice. Never get tired of imagining. Speaking of imagining, let's see what happens now. So the mob, always on the go, will just continue to explore this long cave until they reach the Magma River. Now, they have no one to fight, so they will just explore a little further, scout ahead, and see where that tunnel goes. Next, the Morlons. Also explorers with a goal in mind. I don't think they're going to be able to get down here. There's a lot of competition, but maybe we can have them explore into this zone, and next turn they can tunnel over here and see if they can reach these magma lakes. So they discover this abandoned alien facility that no one has lived in since the aliens vanished, and they occupy it. Then the hag. She discovers the elevator shafts and stealthily explores them until she discovers the location of the Morlons. Then, well, who will she pick on? 1, 2, 3, the Morlons, 4, 5, 6, the Antlings. She hunts Antlings. And finally, the Antlings. Always increasing their preparation. Harvesting treasure. I think that's working out for them. Then we get a new monster group, kobolds. Kobolds appear in area number 2. Magma kobolds. Living on the shores of the magma lakes. We have a village of kobolds. Let's use brown for the kobold village. And kobolds can be green. And then the kobolds will take their turn. Well, they explore, so I think they're actually going to preemptively tunnel into here and find the Morlons as their next door neighbors. Then they will prepare. So these tokens represent magic spells, special preparations, magical abilities, artifacts. In this case, for the kobolds, I think it represents traps and snares and defenses that might give them an advantage against an enemy. And finally, I think they're just going to increase their population, which is one of the options that they have. Joshua says hag is OP, which is totally true. So the hag can basically destroy a unit of just about any monster every turn. She basically devours whole groups if she is left to her own, and few monster groups can do anything to her. But we'll find out what happens. She may conquer this dungeon, or maybe someone will come along that can stop her. So the Morlons, first of all, they explore. So let's reveal this abandoned supply cache. Then I think they're going to build defenses. because those kobolds are bound to give them trouble. So let's see. What color should we use for the defenses here? So they create a defensive perimeter around their new home. That will give them a bonus if they have to fight. And the kobolds, well, keep on exploring, so let's make another side tunnel so they can get around the Morlons if they need to. Then, well, they love to steal, apparently. So they're going to try and steal the Morlons' treasure from them. So the big die is the aggressor, which in this case is the kobolds. And the kobolds are successful. They steal that treasure and make it their own. Next, the hag, continuing her explorations. Discovering the magma river. I guess she's just going to keep on hunting for the time being. Keep these antlings under control. The mob, I guess, will follow the banks of the magma river down to here and continue their explorations. The antlings grow their population. And keep on harvesting. And our new monster group is miners. Miners always spawn on the surface, so they will spawn up here, above something that they can exploit, like these gems. So, where did these miners come from? It's a good question. This planet was lifeless before. Did they evolve here? I think these are asteroid miners who have landed here. This is maybe a bit of a this is a spelljammer world, I think. So, a team of asteroid miners have landed here to exploit this world. We will place them on board their rocket ship and see what they do. So, they will mine down to where these gems may be found. Prepare a site, and they can start mining gems next turn. So, the Morlons. So Morlons are not very good fighters. They're not very good at aggression. So if they stay here, these kobolds are just going to nickel and dime them to death. So I think it's time for them to move on. So they will explore down the mysterious elevator shafts, disused since the aliens left. They discover that a evil hag lives at the bottom, so they will relocate to this level in search of the legendary magma engine of their alien forefathers. Kobolds. Kobolds will explore. Actually, let's have the kobolds explore in this direction. They'll come and explore the surface. I'm just going to put a little Let's find a green, a good dark green here. Sharpie. I'm just going to put a little kobold signpost up here to show how far they have explored in that direction for my own reference. And the miners. So now that the miners have reached the gems, they can start mining them out. So we'll start with this one. I'm just going to draw like some kind of crane here to show that they have now mined out those gems, which they turn into treasure. Well, they can also build something. I think they're going to build a mess hall. We'll put that on the surface. Perhaps a comfortable pressurized habitat that enables them to increase their population. The antlings will continue to grow. So the antlings are actually already almost at a point where they could end the Age of Monsters. So when a monster group reaches 6 population or 6 treasure, it triggers the next age, which is where that monster group basically tries to take over the world. Sometimes it happens really fast, sometimes it happens really slow. It's just part of the game. Right now, it looks like the antlings have a really good chance. The hag is not really keeping them in control because she's keeping their population down, but she's not doing anything with their treasure. But that's, you know, that is the way of it. She can't really do anything to stop them other than keep eating them. The mob, however, moves in here, and when the mob has someone they can fight, they always fight. So they fight the antlings. Sadly, the antlings win, and one of those genetically engineered uplift adventurers is slain. They can steal from cities, farmers, humanoids, or miners. Antlings are neutral, mindless insect swarms, so they cannot steal from the antlings, unfortunately. So I think that is the mob's turn, and now we get a new monster. A wizard. Wizard, where do you appear? In area number 6. So, a yellow wizard. Now this is the thing, when a monster appears, oops, there goes one of my dice. When a monster appears in an area that is already full of monsters, an invasion occurs. So I'm going to have this wizard invade antling territory and try and drive them out. That might slow them down a little bit. So this is just a straight up dice roll. The wizard is the aggressor, so he's the larger die. He is successful, so he actually drives out the antlings, steals one of their treasures, and sets up shop here. The antlings must now move somewhere away. They flee down these tunnels into this dried out husk of a cave that was an underground ocean until the aliens evaporated it to terraform the planet. And now home of the exiled antlings. Let's, I'm just going to draw one of these mushrooms as a sort of a wizard's tower. So the wizard has hollowed out some of these mushrooms and made it his home base. Cool. Wizard. And let's draw in some of these walls too. Yeah, the kobolds should team up with the hag. I think they actually, let's see. The hag can ally with alpha predators, so big monsters. The kobolds can bribe monsters, so there really should be a way for them to ally. There isn't currently. I'm thinking of adding some event cards to the game that let monsters do things that are a little more unusual and out of their usual list of actions. Creating alliances would be a pretty cool thing to do there. Okay. So give these a shuffle. Find out what happens next. The wizard. Wizards always explore. I think in this case, let's take some purple. The wizard will, let's just draw a ladder here. Do some geological investigations up here and discover this ore vein, which could be useful to them later. Next, the wizard can exploit a biome. So he chops down some mushrooms. I'm just going to put some gray here to show that part of this area has been chopped down, and use them to manufacture useful reagents, which counts as treasure. Then he can, he can recruit. He's going to try and recruit one of those adventurers to work for him. He rolled a 4 and the mob rolled a 5. However, he's got a bonus token representing his powerful command of magic, which he then spends to make his roll a 5, and the aggressor wins ties, so he recruits. One of these adventurers becomes a wizard's apprentice. Charm spell. Antlings continue to breed. They can no longer harvest mushrooms because they've been driven out. So the wizard is too powerful for them to fight. So what can they do? They can build a fungus farm. No, they can't. They don't have... They need magic to build a fungus farm. They're sort of stuck. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to build... They're going to dig tunnels to new areas of the dungeon. Maybe if they can reach the surface, they can harvest these goods. Or maybe something will happen to the wizard and they'll be able to move back into his territory. So, our kobold friends, so they will, I think, explore further to the point where they can have contact with the miners, because that gives them someone to steal from. Kobolds steal gold from the miners. The hag. So, what will she do? She could... I think she's just going to keep on hunting. She's going to eat a Morlon. The miners will continue to exploit these gems and strip mine this whole area, giving them more treasure. The Morlons are going to relocate away from this hideous hag and build a new base of operations. Near the Magma River. And the mob. We haven't had a group wiped out yet in this game, interestingly enough. The mob is going to keep on wandering across the ruins of the alien bridge to fight the ants. And they are successful. They kill an ant. And then we get some troglodytes. Troglodytes appearing in region number 8, which is here. Fire troglodytes, perhaps? Well, I think this is pretty clearly going to be a fight between the troglodytes. So I guess the troglodytes come in from the east, encounter the Morlons, who are still setting up their base camp, try and drive them out, but the Morlons succeed, so the troglodytes, I think, are driven to escape to the ice caves. Not a hospitable environment for them, but they will dig some burrows here in which to survive as best they can. Let's use green for them, because they're pretty far from the kobolds. I don't think we'll get them confused. So this is the troglodyte camp. Just going to draw an arrow to show that they came here and they fought a battle, because I like to have some, so this is the Morlon base. Up here's the Morlon spawn. Those are the miners. These are the kobolds, which I also did not label. Kobold City. This is the second antling lair. And there's the wizard's tower. Okay. And that's where the mob started out. Okay. And another turn. So, we'll start with the wizard. The wizard can exploit tombs, gems, or biomes. Well, I think he's going to keep on chopping down those mushrooms to turn into treasures. Then he could recruit. I think he's going to build something. He's going to build a laboratory. Oh, right, okay. So I'm doing this wrong. I'm doing this wrong. When the wizard, this goes to what I was saying earlier, Joshua, about playing How to Host a Dungeon properly. Almost every time I play this, I do something slightly wrong, which is fine. The game still works if you don't. When the wizard exploits things, he does not get treasures, as most monsters do. He increases his store of magic. If he gets enough magic, he can build a phylactery, in which case he becomes the villain that tries to conquer the dungeon. So he is chopping down mushrooms and turning them into magic. And then he is going to, I think he's just going to recruit more adventurers to join his operation. But he's not successful. So the adventurers actually get some of his treasure as he tries to bribe them unsuccessfully. They just run off with the money. The antlings will continue to grow, and I think they're going to fight. They're going to fight the adventuring mob. It is a tie. The aggressor wins ties. The adventurers are almost wiped out. Kobolds. What you going to do, kobolds? I guess they're going to steal. They're going to keep on trying to steal from the miners. They are not successful, so a kobold dies in the attempt. I'm loving these smaller cards. These make it so much easier to play this game. The mob. Well, the mob always wanders. I think they're going to wander away from the antlings. They're going to advance to the rear. Well, the wizard is a humanoid and they can steal from humanoids, so they're going to try and sneak into the wizard's tower and steal some of his treasure. Whoa, not a wise maneuver, and not a successful one either. So, the last of the dungeon adventuring mob dies attempting to rob the wizard, and the wizard adds his treasure to his hoard. The troglodytes. Well, they can fight someone they have fought in the past. They don't instigate battles, but they do finish them, so I think they're going to attack the Morlons. Successfully. The Morlons are near death. The hag. So the hag has a curse power, which is she takes magic away from someone nearby. So the wizard loses some of his magic to the hag. She has no one to hunt really close by. I think then she will form an alliance with the wizard. How does this make sense? Well, this is what hags do. They offer you bad deals and trick you into accepting them. The wizard, however, is not so easily swayed. And in fact, he gets something of value from the hag in return for nothing. The Morlons. So the Morlons, when they are near magma, they can build a magma refinery. So this is like a smaller version of the magma engine that was built by the alien civilization. And when they have a magma refinery, they can then use it to generate treasure from magma. And finally, the miners. They will continue to mine out these caves and remove the gems, turning them into treasure. That is not a monster card. Now we get the Awakened. So the Awakened are a monster group that comes with the Crashed Alien Spaceship, which is a mini supplement that I made for this game. They are aliens who have been locked in cryogenic sleep who suddenly find themselves awakening in a strange world. Very appropriate for this map. Let's see where they appear. Area number 5. What is area number 5? Oh, haha. It appears the Antlings have awakened some ancient aliens slumbering deep beneath the dried up ocean bed. So, this is clearly an invasion. So the Awakened attempts to take over this territory, but fails. They are driven out by the Antlings. Let's use purple for aliens. So they must flee out to huddle in this tunnel. They will build something here, though. They will build defenses. So, in this cave, they will quickly hollow out a defensible chamber with heavy security doors on the ends. So, this is the Awakened Alien Fort. And put that symbol to show that it has defenses. And an arrow to show where they came from, because I like to keep track of that kind of stuff. All right, the miners. The miners will mine out the last of these gem deposits. Let's draw some supports here, keeping these ceilings up. I think maybe when they mine that out, they actually may open up a way into this abandoned alien storage center. The miners have some other things they can do. They have some things they can build. They can trade. Maybe they'll try trading with the kobold brigands who show up on their borders from time to time. So they are unsuccessful. The kobolds trick them with false promises. The miners are perhaps a bit naive. The Morlons So now that they have a magma refinery, they can produce treasure every turn and continue to expand their base in an attempt to rebuild the glory of the alien civilization. The hag. She curses away the wizard's magic. He can't like that. And then offers him a deal. Successfully. So now the wizard cannot mess with her for the next turn. The antlings. Oh, someone needs to do something about the antlings. So they've reached 6 population. If they hold that until the end of the turn, then they will actually trigger the end phase of this game. Kobolds. Kobolds, I think, are going to keep it pretty simple and increase their population, anticipating violence from the miners. The troglodytes are going to continue their revenge on the Morlons. They are successful. The Morlons are wiped out, and the kobolds begin looting their treasures. Too bad for the Morlons. The mob is wiped out. The wizard. The wizard will continue to chop down the mushroom forest, perhaps ignorant that as he chops it down, he is destroying his own habitat. That gives him some magic. Then, yeah, he really has no way to get rid of that hag, unfortunately. And then the awakened, so they will explore their world. So we'll just assume that they've explored out in these directions and know a little bit more about their surroundings. They seek water, but there's none available. They've built defenses. They can fight. They can fight monsters that are not aliens. They're going to come down here and attack these antlings successfully, holding off an antling victory for one more turn. So, the mob. And our new monster is a vampire. Space vampire, perhaps, in this setting. The vampire appears in zone number 9. So down here in the troglodyte, I think the vampire is an ancient life form, more ancient than the alien civilization, who was frozen in ice and thawed out by the troglodytes, whom he will now invade. Unsuccessfully, however, he is driven out by the troglodytes to set up his lair in the wrecked ruins of the once great lava turbine of the alien civilization. Lonely he may be, but he is also pretty wealthy. And then he takes his turn. So he hunts, takes his revenge by hunting down a troglodyte and murdering it in the dark. Then, he can ally with evil groups. The troglodytes are not evil, so he cannot ally with them to protect himself. He can recruit undead, of which there are none in this world. Oh. Yeah, okay. He can bribe powerful monsters, or he can prepare. He will prepare magic spells. There. That should give him some defense. Wizard. Well, I guess he's gonna finally, in his mad quest for magical power, he's gonna tear down his own wizard's tower in the hollow heart of a mushroom to turn into magic in his mad quest for immortality. The awakened aliens. They're going to continue to fight the antlings. They're not successful this time. The vampire. First he hunts. The wizard and the hag are too powerful for him to hunt, but he can hunt. More troglodytes. I'm just going to write down lair of the ice vampire. He already has magic, so he can't prepare more. He can make an alliance. That hag could wipe out his magic with her powerful curse, but not if he offers her a deal and he is successful. He makes a deal with her to prey upon the wizard rather than him. The antlings increase their population. Oh, and they fight. They can fight. Well, I think this is a battle to the death between the antlings and the aliens. A battle the aliens are likely to lose because they can't replenish their numbers as easily as the antlings. The kobolds. Stealing from the miners seems to be working pretty well for them. They are successful. So they have 5 treasures now, so they're actually pretty close to triggering the endgame at 6 treasures as well. Maybe they will beat out the antlings. The troglodytes. If the troglodytes are reduced to just 1 troglodyte and they have no treasure, then they can flee to a new home base, but they have treasure and they're not willing to abandon it. So maybe they can do something else. They can build a spawning pool because that requires water, so they will melt. Let's draw something here to show this. They melt some of this ice to fill this cavern with water. This is probably what they were trying to do when they awakened the vampire. Let's write spawning pool. And this gives them a population boost. So the vampire will not wipe them out quite yet. It's getting close though. The miners. Well, the miners have mined out all these gems. So what next? They will dig deeper and establish a base down here, discovering as by chance the remains of the Moorland treasure, but there are more gems down here, which you can't see super well, but there are more gems that they can mine in a future turn. If it wasn't for those darn kobolds stealing their treasure, they'd be in pretty good shape right now. The Moorlands have been wiped out. The hag. Well, she made a deal with the vampire, so unfortunately the wizard gets cursed. Then, cunning as she is, she attempts to trick the wizard into a deal, but she fails. The wizard could mess with her if he finds some way of doing so. And then we get a new monster group. The veterans, the veteran adventurers. So the mob of adventurers that the aliens genetically engineered from mushroom people have evolved into veteran adventurers, much more powerful. Why am I rolling these dice? I want to roll a 10-sided dice to find out where the veterans enter this world. They enter from below. So I'm going to call this an invasion on wizard territory. The wizard has been chopping down too many mushroom trees, and the mushroom people who live far below, whose whole society is apparently revolves around adventuring, send a party of veteran adventurers to deal with him. So the veterans start with 2 and a treasure. So invasion time. They are successful. The wizard is driven out. He takes his magic with him and one of his treasures. I guess he has to flee up here and lock himself into the old alien storage cache. So I'm going to draw an arrow, and I'm going to call this the Wizard Hideout. Now he is an exile wizard. And then the veterans take their turn. What do veterans do? Veterans always extort. Hey, hag, you saw what happened to that wizard? Be a shame if that happened to you, wouldn't it? Some nice treasure you got there. Yeah, the hag will pay him off, for sure. No problem. Then they have enough treasure to build a stronghold, a wizard's tower, or a thieves' guild. Let's build a stronghold. So, do I have a good color pen to use for this? Here's a dark purple. Astride the ancient bridge of the aliens, they're going to build a mushroom-shaped stronghold, which has defenses. Boy, this is not very visible, is it? Here. Let's see if... No, that's not going to work very well. I kind of want to show this stronghold. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? I'll take a pair of scissors and a piece of paper. I may have mentioned earlier that I sometimes go a little over the top when I play this game. Let's find some tape. Another thing I could do is I could just actually put down another layer of tracing paper. That's legit too, but since this game seems like it's almost over, put a nice cool looking gate, and it's right on the bridge. The stronghold. The uplifted denizens of this world have returned to seek their own. Building that costs them most of their treasure, though. And we'll put a little symbol here to show that this is also a defense, which gives them a bonus in fights. The veteran adventurers are basically, imagine a D&D party that has reached that point where they have enough wealth and power that they're just about ready to build themselves a home base of operations. And these guys have done that in spades. Unfortunately, the Antlings now have 6 population, which triggers the end game. It's already noon, so I'm not going to play through the Age of Villainy, but I'll just tell you a little bit of what would happen next in this game. So sometimes I'll stop a game at this point because this is a cool map. It's full of inspiration, and sometimes I'll continue it. So then what will happen is the Antling group will get a number of additional special powers. They will turn into the Horde. Their numbers will increase rapidly, and they will slowly move into different sections of the dungeon, try and take them over, turn them into ant colonies. The other monsters in the dungeon will continue to fight each other, but also fight the Antlings, and we'll see what happens. I mean, in this game, probably the veterans would hold them off for a while. The hag can hunt, so she can kill one every turn, so she would be their most formidable enemy, but if they somehow defeated the hag, they'd have a good chance of taking over this whole map. So that is How to Host a Dungeon V2, findable on my Patreon, patreon.com/Tony Dowler. Soon to be released and generally available. There will be a free version. There will also be a not free version with more rules, monsters, and artwork in it. It's an ongoing thing. I'm going to continue to add to it and improve it and release updated versions of it over time. You can also follow me on Twitter at Tony Dowler and Instagram at Tony Dowler, which is a good way to hear about when How to Host a Dungeon gets released. And thank you so much for coming down to my studio and hanging out with me today and playing some How to Host a Dungeon. You're welcome, Joshua. Thank you for stopping by and giving me someone to talk to while I doodle on paper and play with dice. Have a good weekend.